For 15 years, I lived a life that most people would never choose. I didn't travel. I didn't eat out often. I wore the same shoes until they were almost broken. Every month, I saved a part of my salary. Not a lot, but enough. Slowly, quietly, patiently, I was building something, a future. There was one dream in my mind the entire time, to own a small house. Not a big one, not a fancy one, just a place that was truly mine. A place where I could close the door at night and feel safe. A place where no one could tell me to leave. Because growing up, I never really had that. We were a family of 5 living in a small rented house. My parents worked hard, but money was always tight. And as the younger sibling, I learned early how to give things up. If there was only enough money for one new school uniform, my older brother got it. If there was only one chance to study further, it was given to him. "It's okay," my mother used to say. "You are strong. You can handle it." And I believed her. So I worked. I studied at night. I found better jobs. I never complained. Meanwhile, my brother lived differently. He changed jobs often. He spent money easily. He enjoyed life in ways I never allowed myself to. Still, he was family. And in our culture, family always comes first. That's what I thought. 15 years later, I finally did it. I had enough money for a small house. I still remember the day I stood in front of it. It wasn't perfect. The walls needed paint. The kitchen was old. But to me, it was beautiful. It was mine. I signed the papers with shaking hands. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was worried, but because I was happy in a way I had never felt before. For the first time in my life, I felt secure. A few days later, I told my family. My parents were proud. My mother even cried a little. My brother smiled and said, "That's great. You finally did something big." I didn't notice anything strange in his voice. Not then. A week later, he called me. His tone was different, more serious, more urgent. "I need to talk to you," he said. "We met at a small coffee shop near my workplace." He didn't waste time. "I'm in trouble," he said. "I have debt, a lot of it." I felt my chest tighten. "How much?" I asked. He told me the number. It was more than I expected, much more. "I need a place to stay for a while," he continued. "Just until I fix things." I hesitated. That house was everything I had worked for. 15 years of sacrifice. 15 years of saying no to myself. But he was my brother, and family comes first, right? I took a deep breath. "Okay," I said slowly. "You can stay, but just for a short time." He nodded quickly. "Of course, just temporary." That was the beginning. But what I didn't know then was that temporary would not mean what I thought it meant. At first, everything felt manageable. My brother moved in with just a small bag of clothes. He didn't bring much, and he kept repeating the same words. Just a short time. I chose to believe him. I gave him the bigger room. Not because he asked, but because that's what I had always done. I took the smaller space without thinking twice. The first few days were quiet. He woke up late. He stayed on his phone a lot. Sometimes he went out, sometimes he didn't. I told myself he was just stressed. Debt can do that to a person. So I didn't ask too many questions. I went to work every day like usual, came home, cooked, cleaned, paid bills, and now I paid for 2 people. At first, it didn't bother me. It was temporary, I reminded myself, temporary. But after 2 weeks, small things started to change. He began inviting friends over. The first time he told me in advance. "Just a few people," he said. "We won't be loud." I agreed. But that night, the house felt different. Voices were louder than I expected. Laughter filled the space that used to be quiet. My quiet. I stayed in my room, trying to ignore it. This is his way of dealing with stress, I thought. But then it happened again and again. Soon, he stopped asking. People came over like it was normal, like this house belonged to him too. One night, I walked into the kitchen and saw empty bottles on the table. Food I had bought was gone. No one told me. No one asked. I stood there for a moment, holding my bag, feeling something I didn't want to admit. This didn't feel like my home anymore. The next morning, I tried to talk to him. "Can you tell me before inviting people?" I asked gently. "And maybe be a bit quieter?" He looked at me, slightly annoyed. "It's not a big deal," he said. "You're too sensitive, too sensitive." I didn't reply. I just nodded. Because deep down, I didn't want conflict. Not with him, not with family. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into a month. He still hadn't found a job. He still hadn't mentioned his debt again. But his life inside my house looked nothing like someone in trouble. Late nights, friends, laughter. And me? I started coming home later. Sometimes I sat outside for a while before going in. Because walking into that house no longer gave me peace. It gave me tension. One evening, I came home earlier than usual. As I opened the door, I heard voices again, more than usual. I stepped inside. The living room was full. 5, maybe 6 people, music playing, shoes scattered everywhere. Someone was sitting on the couch I had saved months to buy. No one noticed me at first. I just stood there, quiet, invisible. Then my brother saw me. "Oh, you're home," he said casually, like nothing was wrong. No apology, no explanation, just normal. In that moment, something inside me shifted, not loudly, not suddenly, but deeply. For 15 years, I had worked for this place, sacrificed for it, dreamed of it. And now, I didn't even feel comfortable walking into my own home. I looked around the room one more time. Then I quietly walked to my bedroom and closed the door. And for the first time since buying the house, I locked it because something was becoming very clear. This wasn't just temporary anymore. And if I didn't do something soon, I might lose more than just my space. That night I didn't sleep, not because of the noise, but because of the realization that something had gone too far. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. 15 years of discipline, 15 years of saying later to every small desire. And now I was hiding in my own room, like a guest. The next morning, the house was quiet again. Empty bottles were still on the table. The floor was messy. My brother was asleep. I stood there for a while, looking at the living room. This wasn't how I imagined my life when I bought this house. Not even close. That was the moment I made a decision. I couldn't keep avoiding this. That evening, I came home earlier than usual. He was awake, sitting on the couch, scrolling on his phone. "Can we talk?" I asked. He sighed slightly, like I was interrupting something important. "Yeah, what is it?" I sat down across from him. I didn't want to sound angry. I didn't want to start a fight. So I spoke slowly. "I think it's time we talk about how things are going." He didn't say anything, so I continued. "You said you would stay for a short time. It's been over a month now." Still silence. "And the house? It doesn't feel the same anymore." He finally looked up. "What do you mean?" I took a breath. "There are people coming over all the time. It's loud. Things are being used without asking. I don't feel comfortable." For a moment, he just stared at me. Then he laughed. Not loudly, but enough to hurt. "You're serious?" he said. I felt something tighten in my chest. "Yes," I said quietly. "I am." He leaned back, shaking his head. "It's just a house," he said. "Why are you acting like this? Just a house." Those words hit harder than anything else. I looked at him. "This is not just a house for me," I said. "You know that." He shrugged. "You're overthinking. I'm your brother." "Why are you making it such a big deal?" "Because it is a big deal," I wanted to say. "Because this is everything I worked for. Because I gave up so much to have this." But the words didn't come out. Instead, I said something simpler. "I need you to respect this space." He didn't respond immediately. Then his face changed, slightly colder. "So what are you saying?" he asked. "You want me to leave?" The question hung in the air. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. "I'm saying things need to change," I replied. "No more parties. Ask before inviting people. And you should start planning your next step." He stared at me for a long time, then he stood up. "You've changed," he said. That sentence surprised me. Maybe he was right. Or maybe I was finally seeing things clearly. "I haven't changed," I said slowly. "I just stopped ignoring things." He didn't like that answer. I could see it in his eyes. "Fine," he said. "If that's how you feel." He walked past me and went into his room. The door closed harder than usual. That night, the house was quiet again. But it wasn't peaceful. It felt like something invisible had broken. Something between us. And deep down, I knew this conversation wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something much harder. Because for the first time in my life, I had chosen myself. And I wasn't sure what it would cost me. The silence between us didn't last long. For 2 days, the house stayed quiet. No visitors. No loud music. No late-night laughter. It almost felt like things were going back to normal. But something was different. We didn't talk. Not in the kitchen. Not in the living room. Not even a simple "how was your day?" Just silence. Heavy silence. On the third day, I came home and immediately felt it. The door was slightly open. Lights were on. And voices again. My steps slowed down. I already knew. As I walked in, I saw them. More people than before. Louder than before. Someone was even smoking near the window. I froze. For a moment, I thought, maybe I was imagining things. Maybe this wasn't my house. Maybe I had walked into the wrong place. But no, that old couch, that small table, that kitchen I had cleaned so many times. It was mine. And yet, it didn't feel like it anymore. My brother noticed me. But this time, he didn't even pretend to care. He just glanced at me and looked away. Like I was nothing. Like I didn't matter. Something inside me snapped. Not loudly, but completely. I walked straight into the living room. "Everyone needs to leave," I said. The room went quiet. People looked at each other, some confused, some uncomfortable. My brother stood up immediately. "What are you doing?" he said, his voice sharp. I said, "Everyone needs to leave," I repeated. My voice was calm, but firm, stronger than I had ever heard it before. "This is my house." The words felt strange, but powerful. For a second, no one moved. Then one person stood up, then another. Slowly, the room began to empty. No one argued. No one laughed anymore. Within minutes, they were all gone. The door closed. And it was just the two of us. My brother looked at me like he didn't recognize me. "Are you serious right now?" he said. "Yes," I replied. He shook his head, angry. "You embarrassed me in front of my friends." I took a deep breath. "And you disrespected me in my own home." The air between us turned cold. "You've changed," he said again, louder this time. "No," I said quietly. "I've had enough." That was it. That was the moment everything broke. "You think you're better than me now?" he snapped. "Just because you bought a house?" I didn't respond. Because this was no longer about the house. It was about something much deeper: respect, boundaries, self-worth. I helped this family too, he continued. You think you did everything alone? Maybe he believed that. Or maybe he just didn't want to face the truth. I never said you didn't help, I replied. But this is mine. I worked for it. I paid for it, and I deserve to feel safe here. He laughed again, but this time so there was no humor in it. Fine, he said. If that's how you feel, then maybe I shouldn't stay here anymore. The words hung in the air. This time, I didn't stop them. I didn't soften them. I just nodded. Maybe you shouldn't. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he turned and walked into his room. I stood there, alone in the living room. My hands were shaking. Not because I was afraid, but because I knew there was no going back after this. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure if I felt relieved or completely alone. He left 2 days later. No long conversation. No apology. No goodbye that meant anything. Just a suitcase. And a short sentence before he walked out the door. You'll regret this. The door closed behind him. And just like that, the house was quiet again. But this time the silence felt different. I stood in the living room for a long time, looking around. The same walls, the same furniture. The same space I had dreamed about for years. But something had changed. Not the house. Me. That night, I cleaned everything. Slowly, carefully. Like I was reclaiming something that had been taken from me. I opened the windows, let fresh air come in, washed the dishes that weren't mine, picked up the mess I didn't create. It took hours. But when I finished, I sat down on the couch. And for the first time in a long while, I felt peace, real peace. Days passed, then weeks. My brother didn't call. I didn't call either. At first, it felt strange. We had never gone this long without talking. But slowly, that silence became normal. And in that silence, I started to understand something. I had spent my whole life believing that being a good person meant sacrificing, giving more, saying yes, staying quiet, especially for family. But no one ever told me that you can give so much that you slowly disappear, that your kindness can become something people expect instead of something they appreciate. One evening, I sat alone in my house, a simple meal in front of me. No noise, no tension, no feeling of being uncomfortable in my own space, just calm. And I asked myself a question. Was it worth it? Losing that relationship, creating that distance, choosing myself for once. I didn't answer immediately, because the truth is, it still hurts. He is still my brother, and a part of me still hopes that one day he will understand. But another part of me knows this. Peace has a price. And sometimes, that price is saying no to people you love. I looked around my house again, not just a building, not just walls, but a place I fought for, protected, and finally, respected. And maybe for the first time in my life, I realized something important. This house wasn't the real achievement. The real achievement was learning that I deserve a space in this world too, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally. If you've ever felt like you always have to give, always have to be the strong one, always have to stay quiet to keep peace, maybe it's time to ask yourself, at what cost? And if this story made you think about your own life, take a moment and ask yourself one simple question. Are you living for others? Or are you finally starting to live for yourself? If you connected with this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Because sometimes the quietest stories carry the loudest truths.